up, guys? I'm Justin Burkholtz, and thank you for watching. This is my first video of 2024, so Happy New Year. I hope you all had a great holiday season. I know I did, and I know it's been a little while since I put out a video. I had some technical issues that prevented me from doing so, and by that I mean I dropped my phone / only recording device into the toilet. And that was pretty sad. So it was resurrected by a local repair guy, but some of the functions, like the microphone, just weren't really working well after that recovery. So my phone works as a phone, but it didn't really work for recording videos or anything any longer. Thankfully, I have new equipment, I have new software, and I have a ton of new books that I've read and want to review, and a ton of new content planned for this year. So I just wanted to let you guys know what's coming up and what you can expect for 2024. Now, you may know this, but last year was a really big year for me. A lot of firsts. I wrote and published my first book. I actually published two. Made my first YouTube videos and started my first podcast. And I had absolutely no experience with any of that before December 2022, I guess, technically. So in the last year, I had a lot to learn, a lot of new software, hardware, algorithms, etc., to figure all of that out. And it's been such a great process, and it's been so fulfilling. And as you may or may not know, I actually did leave my, corporate salary job last December to pursue my passions and write my books and create content that I think will help enrich people's lives and uplift them and help them find meaning and purpose and things like that in this crazy world that we live in. And that has been very fulfilling. So huge thank you to everyone who has supported me this last year as I began this new phase of my life. I am eternally grateful to you all. It was an incredibly difficult decision to make, but like I said, it has been really rewarding. And I have met some absolutely incredible people this last year, and I'm very excited to bring them on to the podcast and the channel here and introduce you all to them. I already started out with the first 4 episodes of my podcast in 2023. So if you didn't catch those, go check those out. I interviewed some really amazing people, some of the people who have been inspiring to me and who I have learned from, covering things like philosophy, nutrition, fitness, mindset, etc. Basically, any topic that has to do with health, wellness, or human flourishing. And looking into 2024, I want to ramp it up and do live in-person interviews with my new equipment, produce higher quality recordings for you all with the new editing software I have, etc. So it's going to be a really great year, and I hope you all stick around to meet the awesome guests that I'm going to have join me this year. Now, along with all of that, I will also be continuing some of the series that I started last year. I want to cover more people in the Great Mystics series. I covered Francois Fenelon and St. Francis of Assisi, and I have more mystics that I want to cover in that series. My third book, Soul, will be published soon, hopefully, as I try and wrap that up here by the end of February. And along with that, I will have new original rituals, ceremonies, prayers, and I want to record and release some of my original poetry as well. If you've been to my blog, you know I do also write poetry, but I haven't shared any of that on my YouTube yet. I am really looking forward to doing some like shorts or reels and sharing my poetry readings on both YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, etc. So I'm super excited about all of that. And of course, I did a lot of reading in the last 3 months or so that I was off the air here. So I have a ton of new books I want to review. Speaking of which, I have these guys here. I hope you can see this stack here. These are the physical books that I read recently that I'm going to review soon. I also have some that were library books that I had to return, and I had some loaned out to friends as well, and some ebooks that aren't here physically with me. However, you may have noticed there's a large stack of Graham Hancock's books here, and that's because 2023 was the year that I discovered Graham and his work, thanks to the Netflix series many of you may have heard about called Ancient Apocalypse. And when that came out, I wasn't exactly excited to watch it. I wasn't even planning on watching it, but there was so much weird press about the series when it came out. All these strange articles I saw in the news talking about how dangerous it was and things like that that were so over the top in their reaction to it that I thought, well, if it's this controversial, I want to watch it myself and see what they're talking about. And I think it's a really great series, but it's a docu-series, and so it necessarily can't get into a lot of the detail and nuance and evidence, etc., for backing up his theory of a ancient civilization that came to a catastrophic end towards the end of the last ice age. So I really thought that was a very interesting line of inquiry, and I wanted to look into it further. So I did. I got one of his books. I loved it. I read it. I bought 4 more of his books here, and I read all of those last year. And so I learned a lot about mythology and archaeology and climate science. And I am super excited to dive into that this year as well and talk about some of these ancient mysteries, some of these really strange artifacts that exist, and really interesting monuments like the Great Pyramids, etc. And I really would love to make a few videos talking about that stuff as well. So that's going to come out. I've done a ton of research on that in the last few months. I've read literally thousands of pages of content, not just Graham's. I've watched a ton of documentaries, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff to cover there. And finally, there is one more topic that I want to cover this year, and that is what has been called the phenomenon, or the UFO, UAP, alien encounter, alien craft, flying saucer, whatever you want to call it, phenomenon. And if you have been living with your head in the sand for the last few years, you may be wondering why I'm bringing that up at all. But there is a lot of really interesting disclosures, discoveries, etc., in that field and on that topic that have come out in the last few years that have completely changed my own mind on the subject. And I really want to share that information with people because for some reason people just aren't getting it. The Vatican or every government agency has come out and said, yes, this is real. Here's the evidence for it, and people still treat it like nonsense. So it's a really interesting topic to cover. So I definitely want to get into that, and it is going to be a wild ride because until very recently, like I said, I dismissed the entire phenomena as nonsense. But the weight of the evidence just became too much for me to ignore, so I really did look into it, and it is quite a rabbit hole. But I did find some really interesting, genuine mysteries there, and some really interesting evidence, some very credible scholars, scientists, etc., who are coming out and talking about their work in this field. And it's just really interesting to me and to a lot of other people. And I don't think it's getting the popular kind of coverage and acceptance that it should have at this point. So I'm going to dive into that as well. And I am super excited to get into all these very controversial topics because, the internet is great and people love to stir up controversy. But I really want to try and navigate our way through them, show you how my beliefs and opinions on these things have changed and why, and maybe you'll change your mind on them as well. So, this year, I want to look back into our deep and forgotten past and forward to our strange and wonderful future. And I'm also working on a longer lecture series covering my own spiritual tradition, Christian Hermeticism. It's going to be an awesome year. So if you like what I'm creating and you want to see more and support me, please hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment, etc. That really does help me out. Also, if you are interested in starting or deepening your spiritual practice or building some new beneficial habits this year, consider picking up a copy of my books, Foundation and Luna, which are both on sale now. You can find the links in the description below or on my website or my Instagram. I cover all kinds of things from gratitude practices to prayer to full-on rituals and ceremonies, all specifically crafted to provide maximum physical, mental, and spiritual benefit. So check those out, and thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.